Final feature to implement for the cart is the cart total. So this value is used in the cart summary over here on the right, and as you can tell, it's currently the wrong value because we've got an item in the cart worth $29.95, so that's the value that we should be seeing there, but instead we're just seeing 0. And we can implement this feature in a very similar way to how we implemented the cart count, and that is by creating a custom getter for our item model. So we're back here in the item module file, and to create this getter we're going to need another constant, and this one is cart total. So now we can create this new getter, and this one will be cart total, and once again we'll assign an arrow function with state as the argument, and we'll start the body down here on the next line. Once again we're going to convert our items object into an array, so we can start with a call to object entries and we'll pass in state data. And again we're going to use a reducer. So let's call reduce and we'll pass in a function, once again with 2 arguments. This time the first argument will be total, and that's going to be our accumulator value, and the second argument will be item, and that's going to be an alias to the current item. And once again we're going to set an initial value for our accumulator to 0. Inside this function, let's go ahead and go total plus equals item number 2, and we'll get the price property off that, and we're going to multiply that by the cart value. Then what we can do is simply return the total. So what that's going to do is it's going to iterate through every one of our items, and it's going to multiply the price by the quantity, and the quantity is represented by this cart value. And so that line will give us the item total, and then we're going to add that on to the cart total. To use this new getter, let's go to our cart summary component now, and you'll see in the template for this one that we're interpolating a value cart total here, and now that gets passed into a currency filter, and that filter, it has the job of adding the $sign and the decimal point. So we have a computed property down here, cart total, and you can see that that's just returning 0. So let's go ahead and instead return our cart total getter. So don't forget, the first thing that we need to do is import the name of the getter, which is cart total, and we'll fix that up there. Okay, now we can go this store getters, and just like before we're going to have a dynamic property here, so we're going to go entities, items, and we'll pass in the constant cart total like that. Coming over to our browser now, once that code rebuilds, you'll see that your cart summary now has a correct value. Now before we finish this video and our work on the shopping cart, there's one remaining issue to fix. So if we refresh the browser after we've added items to the cart, you'll see that when it reloads, that our state has disappeared and our cart items have disappeared. That's because our state is not getting persisted to the API like the rest of our data does. Now we could definitely persist the cart data to the server by creating a new endpoint and updating it with Axios. But I think it would be better to instead just persist it to local storage. Now this is obviously much faster, and for our use case, I think it's quite sufficient. Persisting our state to local storage is actually really simple if we use the Vuex persisted state plugin. So once we install this, it will automatically save Vuex state to the browser storage, and will also reload it automatically when the app loads. So let's go ahead and install that. Going npm I Vuex persisted state, and we'll save that as a development dependency. Once that plugin's installed, all we need to do now is add it to our store. So let's go ahead to the top of the file and go import, and we'll name this constant create persisted state, and that's going to be from Vuex persisted state, like that. Now the default export from the Vuex persisted state module is actually a method, and it allows you to pass in config options. For example, one of the config options you could include would be a filter, and that could prevent certain state properties from being persisted if you didn't want to persist everything. Now, that would be a good idea in the case of passwords, which may pass through the store. Anyway, let's now add this plugin to our store definition by calling the persisted state method from the plugins array. So we'll go down here, and let's just rearrange this a bit. And we're going to go create persisted state, and we can call it like that. Now, we're happy with the default config options for now, so we won't bother passing in a config object here. With that done, if you add a few items to your cart and then refresh the page, you'll see that they're still in the cart when the page reloads.